Hi, my name is Marc Steinberg. I'm the founder of Creative Consciousness International, and this is a message to reach out to you if you are a teacher, if you are a spiritual teacher, if you are a seminar workshop leader, if you're out there making a difference for the people, showing them what spirit really can be, what consciousness really means, what a connection to the higher self really means. And I'm sure you give them in your own way, in your own workshops, a experience that is giving them an authentic view of who they really are in the bigger picture of their self. And this is a message from me as a colleague. I'm leading my self-retreats since more than 30 years now. Trainings, I do shamanistic work, I do Gestalt, I do psychodrama theater, I do motivational staging, I do empowerment, life force energy, even including martial art techniques in order to help people to really meet their authentic energy and what's really in them and what can be brought from them back to the world. So I believe we are on the same page here. And I'm reaching out to you to share one piece of knowledge, what I found in many discussions with other leaders, which is so important because people normally don't understand why, when they bring their authentic, new, next version of themselves back into their lives. So they come to your retreat, to your training, and then they have a transformational experience. And they are flying, and it's authentic, and it's real for them. We all know that. It's so beautiful. Then they go back into the matrix, into their lives. And the first thing what they hit in their relationships, maybe on the next day even, or a week or 2 weeks later, is conflict, is them, the other, not getting their level of new awareness, of new consciousness. And instead of giving you praise as a participant, now I'm speaking to you, giving you praise and thanking you for being so awesome and authentic and in your energy, they start fighting with you, they start rejecting you, they feel a distance, they don't want you to be on that high level or whatever unconscious programs are running in them. And I want to explain to you what's happening, because otherwise it cannot be explained why humanity has crucified Jesus, has poisoned Socrates, has shot Martin Luther King, has shot John Lennon, and the imprisoned Nelson Mandela, and the list is endless. Why do people react in that way? I mean, they should be happy. We are one of them who did the transformational work and want to bring our love and our light and helping them to get to the same level. And what do? They throw tomatoes at us and could get even worse, as I just shared with you. So if that is a theme that is of interest, then let me just explain one tiny piece of wisdom that may help you to understand what I'm talking about here, why people react in that way. Because if you share that with your participants, with your people in the workshops, then they are better prepared to understand the reactions they may get from their children or their parents or whoever the close people in their lives are. So, when one goes into a higher state of authenticity, having done your energy work, having done your plant purification, or whatever you work with, though they are in a higher state of authenticity, more connected to their self, more connected to their truth. And this truth, as you can agree, I'm sure with me, is not something you give to them, it's simply you remove in your own way with your work the clouds, the obstacles between them and their essence. So this essence is in every human being. That's important as a paradigm to agree on. Now, when they come back to the more unconscious people, then the essence of them, which is in them dormant, is going into resonance with your awakened or with the awakened energy and authenticity of the participant. That means the resonance stimulates the authenticity in the other to rise, but the space is taken by their ego, by their identity or whatever in your teaching you're calling that. That means two objects at the same time cannot own the same space. It's a physical law. So that authenticity suddenly is pushing up without them doing anything. It's just by the presence of somebody being in a higher level of authenticity. The other's authenticity potential is stimulated, wants to go up, but ego takes already the space since decades or since very early childhood. That ego, that identity feels threatened in that very moment. Now when the ego feels threatened, it immediately sends a warning signal to the brain. What does the brain do? The brain activates the R system because it believes that the host, the owner of the brain, the human being's survival is at stake. That's how the brain thinks. So it goes and shuts down the neocortex and the limbic system, and only the R system is now taking over. That means the person cannot actually think rational or consciously or having distinctions at place. They cannot feel the real deal here. No, it's shut down as it is designed by evolution. The R system itself, fight, flight or freeze, is only in charge. And that's a good thing what evolution installed in the brain, because when the tiger is behind you, it's no good time to think what you're going to do next. You better start running. And to feel fear and all the rest of it, not good. Get running. You even pee to get less weight in order to be faster to run. So that aspect is okay. However, it's the same thing when the ego feels threatened. It signals it to the brain. Brain does the same thing. Our system goes into fight, flight or freeze. So fight means you are starting to attack the person. Flight means you are just running away, or freeze means you are pretending it's not happening. And that is what can happen in the people that your participants meet when they come out of your transformational process. To know how to now deal with the dynamics that are happening, or to communicate your transformation or to transmit your transformation in such a way that the reaction on the other side isn't going to alarm the ego and brain, our system, and then the reaction, but rather in a safe way to channel the light and to channel the transmission according to the ability, the receptivity of the other. This is something one needs to learn to sense, so that the dose of your light, so to speak, is in the right way for them to be able to take without the ego going into alarm. So that's one thing I'm passionate about sharing, how that actually then works, how you can communicate in this particular way and not alienate the people you love, but rather make them feel safe so that they become curious and interested, and that allows you to more and more and more open up and share more and more and more of your light. The other thing what seminar leaders and workshop colleagues always are sharing with me is, if they are open and honest enough, that 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, months later, after the transformational experience, what's left is the memory of it, but not really the presence of it. That's one thing. I'm sure you know that, and you know the answer, as I do. Take the next retreat. It's not marketing. It's simply the knowledge that with just 4 days, 7 days, or whatever psychedelic, wonderful God experience people have, it's not enough to completely transform their life forever. So it's a path, it's a continuous way they need to engage in. But then they also need to change their lives. Would you agree? I think you do. They need to make lifestyle changes. They need to align their lifestyle with the requirements of a more conscious spiritual life. And that is a challenge for many people. Also, to bring the manifestation of the life force power onto the ground is a challenge. You know, some people can meditate until they are really totally being connected with all the stars in the universe and still not able to pay their rent. How come? And that's another thing, how to bring the transformation into the relationships, into the workplace, into your ability to sustain your life and to prosper, so not to only have inner million, but also an outer million. And if you don't like the word million, I'm fine with that. Just say, call it abundance. Yeah, so that your spirituality is translating itself into the external circumstances of your life equally. And that is calling for providing tools for your participants, for your graduates, that allows them to, in a practical term, take the action and the energy of the transformation and put them into terms that translate into a empowerment, enablement, changing the material circumstances around them such that they match now who you are inside. I don't believe that it's just happening by itself. I know that some people are claiming that this is going to happen just by itself, and it may even happen by itself for 1 or 2 or 3 weeks, but tell me someone really who has the experience, they didn't need to do any manifestation work and their life changed for the good. I'm talking about for the good. Coming from 30 years of experience, I know exactly what I'm talking about. And as you can hear from my accent, I was born in Germany. I do live today in Crete, and I was most of my life somewhere else. So I'm not having a national loyalty to the German culture. But I'm grateful that I was born in Germany, and because that, I believe, allowed me to be a very practical man. So on the one side, all my life was always about spirituality, is, always will be, and at the same time, the practicability to bring the earth and the heaven together, which is, of course, done in the heart, the lower chakras and the upper chakras. But then in the heart, you need to externalize that in a right way to manifest it. And the tools to do that, that you can implement in your own work and help with those tools your graduates to manifest what they take away from your seminars. That is my passion, that's my contribution, and that's my offering. So if you're interested in that, let me know. I'm happy then to take you to another step where we can talk close about that possibility. For today, thanks for your attention, and keep well and keep sharing your light. Thank you. Marc Steinberg.